Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So we are continuing with Caitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter number 4, verse number 127. Ami yache paraspara viruddha dharmashraya Radha prema taiche sada viruddha dharmamaya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Just as I am the abode of all mutually contradictory characteristics, so Radha's love is also full of similar contradictions. Text 128. Radha prema vibhuyara badhitena hithani tathapi sekshane kshane badai sadai. Translation. Radha's love is all pervading, leaving no room for expansion, but still it is expanding constantly. Text 129. Yahavai guru vastu nahi sunischita tathapi guru radharma gaurava varjita. Translation. There is certainly nothing greater than her love, but her love is devoid of pride. That is the sign of its greatness. Text 130. Yaha haite sunirmala dvitya nahiyara tathapi sarvada vamya vakra vyavahara. Translation. Nothing is purer than her love, but its behavior is always perverse and crooked. Text 131. Vibhurapi kalayan sadabhivriddhim gururapi gauravacharayaya viniha muhurupachitta vakrimapi shuddho jayati muradvishi radha radhikanuragaha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Radha's love for Krishna, the enemy of the demon Mura. Although it is all pervading, it tends to increase at every moment. Although it is important, it is devoid of pride. And although it is pure, it is always beset with duplicity. Purport. This is a verse from the Dana Keli Kaumudi 2 of Srila Rupa Goswami. Text 132. I need to increase my voice. How? I don't know.
We have to increase the volume.
Yeah, you increase your volume. Yes, true. Because this is the maximum it will go today. Text 132. Sei premara Shri Radhika Parama Ashraya Sei premara Ami Hai Kevala Vishaya. Translation. Shri Radhika is the highest abode of that love, and I am its only object. Text 133. Vishaya Jatiya Sukha Amara Asvada Amahaite Koti Guna Ashrayara Ahalada. Translation. I taste the bliss to which the object of love is entitled. But the pleasure of Radha, the abode of that love, is 10 million times greater. Text 134. Ashraya Jatiya Sukha Pati Paite Manadhaya Yatne asavadi te nari ki kari upaya. Translation. My mind races to taste the pleasure experienced by the abode, but I cannot taste it, even by my best efforts. How may I taste it? Text 135. Kabu yadi e premara haye ashraya tabe e premanandera anubhava haya. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Excuse me. If sometime I can be the abode of that love, only then may I taste its joy. Purport. Vishaya and Ashraya are two very significant words relating to the reciprocation between Krishna and his devotee. The devotee is called the Ashraya and his beloved Krishna is the Vishaya. Different ingredients are involved in the exchange of love between the Ashraya and Vishaya, which are known as Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvik, and Vyabhichari. Vibhav is divided into the two categories, Alambana and Udipana. Alambana may be further divided into Ashraya and Vishaya. In the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna, Radharani is the Ashraya feature and Krishna the Vishaya. The transcendental consciousness of the Lord tells him, I am Krishna and I experience pleasure as the Vishaya. The pleasure enjoyed by Radharani, the Ashraya, is many times greater than the pleasure I feel. Therefore, to feel the pleasure of the Ashraya category, Lord Krishna appeared as Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we can see how Srimati Radharani is being glorified over here. And from the very beginning of the verses that we read today, Radharani's love is expanding constantly, which means there is no limit at all. Now one may question, how is that possible? She is the pleasure potency of Krishna. She is non-different from Krishna. Just like Krishna is all-pervading, her love is also all-pervading. Srila Prabhupada says, it's easier to go to Krishna through Radharani. And it's easier to go to Radharani through the disciplic succession, the parampara, the spiritual master. And Radharani, of course, we will read a lot of glories, continuing with the unlimited glories of Srimati Radharani. But one of the things I remembered while preparing for this lecture was, Srila Prabhupada says, I think we talked about that before also, that the kitchen is Radharani's kitchen. She is the one who's preparing food for Krishna every day. So many dishes, and she has never repeated any dish. In our limited knowledge that we have, how many dishes do we know? I probably know 5, not more than that. And it's repeated since I started cooking. But Radharani, unlimited. Yashoda Maya had heard that anyone who eats Radharani's cooked food never falls sick. So what did she do? She asked Radharani to come every day to cook for Krishna. So her baby Krishna will not fall sick. That much power is there between, in Radharani's cooking also. And so we see, of course, in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, we have heard a lot of glories of Krishna, how great Krishna is. And now here, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is giving us, he's opening the window, excuse me, he's opening the window through which we can see Radharani's glories, how glorified she is. And in one of the verses we read, it says, her love is devoid of pride. Sometimes, especially in material love, pride comes in, right? Husband says, I love you more than you do. Wife says, no, 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 I love you more than you do, right? This is in the beginning of marriage. After that, that love vanishes from the window. Then it is, I have to jailify you. You know? So her love is devoid of pride. And what is that famous saying? Pride comes before the fall. So pride leads definitely to a fall. So we have to be very, very vigilant and keep track of our anarthas. Try and meditate, not meditate, no. Contemplate on the anarthas that we may have in our heart and see how, concentrate on one anartha. Of course, we have many. Let's take one anartha at a time and think about it, that what is the degree of that anartha in our heart. It could be anything: lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, whatever it may be. And then try to see, how can I remove it from my heart? Try to see how to not make that mistake again and again. Prabhupada says that if you make a mistake, it's okay. But if you keep repeating it, then, it's not a mistake. Then it's not a mistake. So it's a very delicate situation. We are very, very fortunate that we are in Krishna consciousness, but we need to see how we can progress on a daily basis. Now, here it is said, her love is devoid of pride. Let us think and see, is there anything that I'm proud of? Right? Do I have any pride? Because being proud is a very dangerous situation. You can say it's a dangerous consciousness. Here, Srila Prabhupada has given us a process to make our consciousness Krishnaized, that we become Krishna conscious. So we have to be careful that we don't become proud consciousness. That's a very dangerous situation. We see in this world people, what was that? Inside? 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 It sounded like, oh, on top of the chimney. Oh, I thought he's inside the fireplace. Sounded like that. But it's good. He's hearing Krishna Katha. He's hearing Radharani. Then one of you will have to remove. Yes, if he's sitting here and listen, can you see? Is there a crow inside? No. Oh, so the sound is coming. See? Oh, yes, so he cannot go in. Oh, so there he cannot come in. Look at us. We are talking about Radharani, now we are talking about crow. Oh, Krishna. Oh, pop karke girega? No. Okay, okay. Before going, we have to look in and see if there's a crow in the fireplace. Anyway, I don't burn it, so, but it'll be trapped if, yes, nah, okay. So in this material world, we see that people are proud of their beauty, of their wealth, of fame and knowledge. Some are proud that I'm so renounced, I'm a sannyasi, whatever it may be. But if we chant attentively every day, then if the pride is there, that is going to vanish. So in these verses, we see Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying that Radharani's love is the greatest. There is no sign of pride, and that is a sign of greatness. That is what he said. During the Radha Ashtami time, we recite the 25 transcendental qualities of Srimati Radharani. So I thought, since we are hearing about her glories, let's read her qualities, 25 qualities. Srimati Radharani has 25 transcendental qualities, and she can control even Krishna by them. Her transcendental qualities are as follows. She is sweetness personified. She is a fresh young girl. Her eyes are always moving. She's always brightly smiling. She possesses all auspicious marks on her body. She can agitate Krishna by the flavor of her person. She is expert in the art of singing. She can speak very nicely and sweetly. She is expert in presenting feminine attractions. She is modest and gentle. She is always merciful. She is transcendently cunning. She knows how to dress nicely. She's always shy. She's always respectful. She is always patient. She is very grave. She is enjoyed by Krishna. She is situated on the highest devotional platform. She is the abode of love of the residents of Gokul. She can give shelter to all kinds of devotees. She is always affectionate to superiors and inferiors. She is always obliged by the dealings of her associates. She is the greatest amongst Krishna's girlfriends. She always keeps Krishna under her control. These are the 25 transcendental qualities of Srimati Radharani. If you all notice that some of the verses do not have any purports, right? And I continue reading it. So I was discussing this with Balabhadra Prabhu, yesterday, because I got stuck in one or two verses. I didn't know how to explain. He said, if there's no purport, what is there to explain? If Srila Prabhupada did not find it fit to give a purport or give any explanation to that particular text, we don't need to either. Anyway, with the purport also, it's hard for us to understand, right? It's hard for us to even digest it or realize it. But the ones that had purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that Srimati Radharani, she is on the topmost position, like we read her 25 transcendental qualities, that she is the greatest. And Srimati Radharani's love is considered the highest. There's nothing, she is the topmost of all the gopis also. And the pleasure she experiences is 10 million times more. And that is why Prabhupada also says, Krishna came as Caitanya Mahāprabhu just to be in that mood of Srimati Radharani, to be intoxicated in love like Srimati Radharani is for Krishna. And he wants to taste or relish that same pleasure that Srimati Radharani gets by loving Krishna. Now we know, we have heard from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is all knowable. He knows everything. He knows past, present, and future. And it is surprising, he doesn't know what Radharani feels for him. He has to come down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to experience that, to relish that. And we can see that as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's trying to taste that love of Srimati Radharani. And he says that Krishna's mind is racing. Even our minds race, right? From the time we started the class, how many times mind went out of Glenridge close circle? Couple of times, right? That's how the mind does, it races. So mind is racing, and there is that, what you call that greed to taste that, to relish that love of Srimati Radharani for Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada explains that in Krishna consciousness, we should have that greed. It is called lolium. Not just greed, intense greed. It's only when we have that intense greed to know Krishna, to love Krishna, to know Srimati Radharani, to love Srimati Radharani, only when that intense greed is there, only then we will be able to reach perfection. So the question is, are we greedy enough now? If yes, how can we increase that greed? Are we greedy now? If no, what can I do to start that intense, that what you can say, the path to intense greed for Krishna? That brings us to a point that, do we want this birth to be the last birth? We all say yes, correct? Because we all have, faced so many tribulations. I won't say atrocities, but, problems and miseries, and so much, we have gone through, not only in this life, in many previous lifetimes also. So we decide, is this my last birth? If yes, what am I doing to make it the last birth? It doesn't happen automatically, right? It's not that, okay, you turn on the switch and the light is on. No, it doesn't happen like that. So just having a goal of being Krishna conscious is not enough, but what are we doing to progress? So Krishna here, he's making best efforts to taste that love. And he's also asking, how may I taste that love? If the Lord is asking that, where are we? What is our position, right? Krishna is asking, how may I taste that love of Srimati Radharani for Krishna? So that mood itself can show how much Krishna really loves Srimati Radharani. Yes, in our daily routine life, we get so engrossed, like, you can call it conditioning. I remember a nice story about conditioning. There was this person in Middle East, and he had a camel, and he would, use the camel to carry, some stuff, or some ride for people who want to have a camel ride. So he would, the camel, they put a rope around. Where do they put? Around their mouth, I think, around their mouth they put, so that they can control the camel. So there was this rope, and he would hold the rope, and he would walk, and he would go to the marketplace just to see who all wants a ride, or help with carrying their heavy stuff. So he would go to the market, and it was his, you can call it a ritual. He would go to one particular place, and then he would tie that rope to a pole, and then the camel would sit down, and then he would feed the camel, water, food, whatever it is. And if there was a ride, he would open the rope, and that would indicate to the camel that it's time to get up and take a ride. So excuse me. So one day it so happened that that rope broke. So now what should he do? How will he indicate to the camel that it is time to sit down? And he kept telling the camel, sit, 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 but the camel won't sit. Then he got an idea. He pretended there is a rope, and he tried to, pretend that he's pulling the rope and tying it to the pole, and the camel sat down. Just that action. And then when he made that action of removing that knot, and leaving it, the camel got up. That is called conditioning. No intelligence that, oh, there is no rope. If the master is saying get up, I need to get up. No, but that conditioning, that is our conditioning in this material life. We are so conditioned to doing the same stuff every day. Yes or no? As soon as we get up, we do the same thing. When I heard this story, I was thinking, what is it that I do which is like a machine, like automatic? It just happens. Especially in cooking, for us, it's it's automatic. Take out masala dabba, throw this masala, that masala. That is automatic, right? There is no what you call rocket science in that. So I was thinking, and I realized there is conditioning even in the shower. Right? The same way procedure, same way you wet your body, The same way you apply the soap, the same way you remove the soap, and guess what? The same way you even dry yourself with the towel. First, like for me, first the left arm, then the right arm. It's conditioning. So we have been conditioned. Say for me, I'm conditioned for 64 years, and depending on our age, how to remove that conditioning. That doesn't mean I don't shower, but it's a consciousness. So we are doing our daily routine even in Krishna consciousness, the arati or chanting or whatever. It should not become a ritual. It should not become just a routine. We have to put our heart and soul also in our spiritual activities. So just doing bare minimum is good, but it is not good enough. Just like in business, does the businessman say, "Oh, a little profit, I got enough"? No, wants more and more and more. We go to a job, we do the job. Is that sufficient? No, we want promotion, we want increment, we want raise in salary. So that goal is there. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness also, we should have the goal. Now, the very last verse that we read today was verse number 135, where Srila Prabhupada says there are two important words in this verse. One is Ashraya and the other is Vishaya. These two are there. And I was listening to one lecture where Prabhu was saying that the inner desires of Krishna can be revealed here. And also, what is the reason that he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Now, when he's talking about these two important words, Ashraya and Vishaya, these two are necessary in a relationship. Right? Whatever kind of relationship may be there, these two sides need to be understood. And he says, Ashraya is called the source or the shelter. Jiska ashraya lete, that source or the shelter. And Visha is, the feelings on whom these are bestowed upon. Right? Yes, it's called the supreme. Krishna is the supreme object, as it is called. So here, Krishna, he is appreciating the unbounding love of Srimati Radharani in Ashraya category as a source or the shelter. And he has that desire to experience that same position in which Radharani is. What is it that she is relishing or she is experiencing? So Krishna here in Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of 135 verse that he wanted to experience Radharani's position in the Ashraya category. You see, I am actually trying to explain to you based on my limited understanding. I'm sure there is a lot more that can be understood from these verses, but this is all I can explain. And I was asking Balabhadra Prabhu also to give me some insight into these verses so that I also can understand. So these two words, they relate to the reciprocation between one and the other. And just like we see in relationship, there are emotions, there are feelings, there are desires, there are expectations, which is not a good thing to do, but it is there. So in the purport of this verse 135, Srila Prabhupada gives some more knowledge about Ashraya and Vishaya, right? First, he explains that, these feelings or of, or you can say emotions in relationships can be divided into Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattvic, and Vyabhichari. And then he says Vibhav is divided into two categories. It's Alambana and Udipana. Now this Alambana is again further divided into Ashraya and Vishaya. This is where these two words come from. And from the purport, we can understand Srila Prabhupada is giving two categories, like not categories, but two scenarios. The first one is where he says devotees are the ashraya or the abode. So I got a little confused. How can the devotee be the ashraya? Right? It should be Krishna or Radharani, the ashraya, the abode. But Balabhadra Prabhu was explaining that here, Srila Prabhupada is not talking about neophyte devotees. He's talking about pure devotees, representatives of Lord Krishna. So they are the Ashraya and Krishna is their Vishaya or the supreme object. And in the second scenario, he says, Radharani is the Ashraya, the abode, because she is the topmost devotee. And Krishna is the Vishaya. So these are the two scenarios we can get from the purport of Srila Prabhupada so nicely. So we see that Krishna, he is experiencing pleasure just by seeing Radharani as the Ashraya, the abode. Just like we see in the material world also, that in when the boy and the girl are, you know, so much in love, then the boy will think the girl is my Ashraya, and the girl will think opposite, right? So, but of course, we cannot compare it to what Radha and Krishna that Prabhupada is talking about in this. But we see that Srila Prabhupada says that whatever Krishna is experiencing, Radharani is experiencing 10 million times more. So then I started thinking, when will Krishna reach that position where his also will be 10 million times more, right? But this is what Krishnadas Kaviraj is explaining, that her pleasure is much, much, much more than the pleasure that Krishna is experiencing. And that is why, Prabhupada mentions, that is why Krishna came down as Caitanya Mahaprabhu. That was the inner reason, inner desire to experience that love that Srimati Radharani has for Krishna, just to relish that. And if you notice in the purport, very interestingly, Srila Prabhupada says, transcendental consciousness of Krishna. Was there a need to mention that? Krishna's consciousness is always transcendental. He is transcendental. It was necessary to remind us that we are in material consciousness, that we need to transcend, we need to go above. Our consciousness is on the material platform. And you can say sometimes, you know, when there is some construction work going on, what is the board they have there? Work in progress, right? Be careful, work in progress. That is our situation. We are work in progress as far as Krishna consciousness is concerned. So gradually we need to go above the material consciousness. Now, how gradual is our choice, right? Sometimes Guru Maharaj also says there should be a gradual process. Now, that doesn't mean that it is so gradual that it takes forever, right? Right? Our mind works like that, well, Guru Maharaj said gradual process, so we will do it gradually. But that gradually is dependent on our perception of gradual, right? Excuse me. So that depends on our sincerity and serious in on the spiritual path. If we are very, very serious to be, you know, progressing spiritually, then we are going to progress really fast. If not, then it's going to take many lifetimes.